Hey Erin, this is my submission for the Components of Fitness assignment, so I'll take you through it now. Introduction. What are the components of fitness? So the six different components of fitness are body composition, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, flexibility and agility. So there's definitions here for each, so I'll take you through them quickly. Body composition is the percentage of fats, water, bone and muscle in the human body. Cardiovascular endurance, ability of the heart and lungs and blood vessels to deliver oxygen to the body tissues. Muscular strength, ability of a muscle or a muscle group to produce a maximal amount of force in one contraction. Muscular endurance, ability of a muscle or a muscle group to contract consistently against resistance. Flexibility, range of movement in a joint or a series of joints. And agility, the ability to move quickly and change direction of the body. So, but with all of these comes like danger, if you will, like injuries, how to prevent injuries, that sort of stuff, how to keep yourself safe in sporting examples. And my presentation is based on weight training, so my examples are going to be, for all six, are going to be on weight training. So health and safety. There's a few types of ways to keep safe. I'm going to base it if I was a PT and these are my clients, what I would do to keep my clients safe. So informed consent. People under the age of 18 must get their parents, carers or guardians to sign for them. And this basically means that they want to participate and they are well aware of the risks of the activity, and they put full trust in you. Risk assessment, and you can do this for the surroundings, so like the gym I would train them in. You have to make sure it's as safe as can be and you can work there properly. And you also have to look at a client's medical situation, so previous, have they had any injuries before, that sort of stuff. So you need to base the training around your client. Health and safety is important because, like I said, like I've just gone over, it prevents injuries. And there's a few other things you can do to prevent injuries as well. So one of these things in the gym example would be spotting. This is when a person, so if I give an example of a bench press, this is when someone would stand with their arms like in a curled position, or you can hold it with your hands. I've seen people do it either way. And they sort of give you that initial lift of the weight and for you to then take the weight yourself. And again, if you can't get it back up again, they're there to support you and bring it up and rack the weight for you if you can't. Stretching, there's two different types of stretching. There's dynamic and static. So I'm going to go through them as we go through the presentation. Right, principles of fitness training. So again, the gym example, sets. They are a group of consecutive repetitions. So if I was doing a bicep curl, they would have reps and then there would be sets. So the reps are a completion of a motion of an exercise. So if I did one rep of a bicep curl, that would be bringing my arm up and down. But if I want sets, is how many times you do that. So if I do 3 sets of 10, that's three lots of 10 repetitions of a bicep curl. So, and we have FIT. So this stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. So how often do you decide to train? So, an example, my dad's training for rugby at the minute, so strength training, he trains 3 times a week and that's push, pull, and legs. So train based around what you're trying to do. How hard do you decide to train? So if you're gonna overload yourself or progressive overload, like that. So it's how to get better, really. Type, what type of training method? So like different ways to train. So you could, if you want to gain size, if you want to gain strength, endurance, that sort of stuff, how you train like that. As I've just said, and there's 4 other bits to go over on this slide. I've already gone overload, but we'll go straight to specificity. The training an athlete uses that specifically benefits them in their sport. So again, if you've got an Olympic weightlifter that's going for a 1 rep max deadlift, they wouldn't while deadlifting do like 3 sets of 10 at a lower weight. They would go for higher weights, not the level that they're going to lift maximum, but they would get very close and they would consistently lift that. Well, like 1 rep, have a rest, keep doing that, getting the form down, making sure they can lift the weight safely. Progression, this is when the amount of exercise is gradually increased. So if I was trying to, let's do pull-ups for an example. So for 3 days I do 10. After them 3 days I then move up to 20, and after another 3 days I move up to 30. That's how progression works. It's sort of up in the bar for yourself, really, so you can continue to get better. Now, reversibility, this is any changes made to yourself physically while training. So changes that will be made to yourself physically while training will be lost if you stop. So if I gained like muscle mass, so if I was training for 6 months, all the muscle mass that I've gained from training, if I just stop training, my body will reverse. I will start to lose all the gains that I've made. So we'll go on to the next slide. This is about warm-up and cool-downs. Warm-ups are important because it's obviously a part of physical activity, and it allows the blood to be pumped around the body with oxygen to provide oxygen to the working muscles. This prevents build-up of things like lactic acid, and that causes really bad cramps sometimes. And if the muscles aren't relaxed, this can cause to things like tears and stuff like that. So it's basically just to prevent injury. Cool downs should normally be between about 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe slow walking, because you can keep your heart rate down, and keep it down to a normal, gradual pace. And this also helps to avoid fainting or dizziness. And it gets rid of the lactic acid in the muscles, so the removal of lactic acid from the muscles. And as I've got here, if the lactic acid isn't removed, it can cause, or it can lead to, severe pain or muscle cramps. Also, we've got the 2 different types of stretching. So we've got static stretching and dynamic stretching. Static stretching, so you take a muscle to its outer range. So let's give an example of a lunge. You would hold it like at a certain depth between 20 and 60 seconds. I would say about 20 to 30 seconds, and you hold it and until in a position under tension, and you'll feel the muscle relax, and then that's when you move more. So it's about increasing the range of motion of your muscle and obviously relaxing it. Dynamic stretching, these are being used more and more often because the movements are used more in sports, like more often, so it sort of reflects what you're doing. Now these stretches are obviously being used more in sports as well, and it's taking a muscle through its full range of movement, starting off small and gradually getting bigger. So if I was doing a side lunge, I would go to a certain depth and then carry on and keep going like that, but not to a point where it's painful, to a point where you can feel the muscle being stretched, because you don't want to cause yourself any injuries through stretching. So let's move on. Right. So to work on your muscular endurance through weight training, you would generally do higher repetitions and more sets at about a medium, probably to about 50 to 70, 75%, maybe even 80% of the weight that you can lift, but you would do it more, because muscular endurance can only be improved if you progressively go more and more. So your muscles will get used to being worked more, so the ability will rise. So now flexibility is a bit of a hard one, because I've looked all over the internet and there's different arguments and opinions and stuff, but this is my opinion. Flexibility, most of the time in weight training, flexibility will decrease at the joints, because fat and muscle are two different, like, I'm sorry, I don't really know how to describe it, but for a woman, for example, a gymnast, someone with a lower muscle mass and a higher like fat percentage, they're more flexible. Um, and if you compare that to a bodybuilder, someone who's big, weighs a lot more, has a lot more muscle on them, this means they can't move. Some bodybuilders can't even move their arms properly or answer the phone. So that's my opinion on it. Flexibility can also be affected by injuries or like bad training habits, like I said earlier about bad form, and it can be improved through dynamic or static stretching. Muscular strength. So this can be improved by lifting heavier weights at lower reps. So again, this would be done through progression as well. Um, and the definition of it is the ability of a muscle or a muscle group to contract at a maximum force. So yeah, you would give an example of a deadlift, 1 rep max. It's about explosiveness. So you would continually up the weight of what you're lifting to increase your ability. So move on to the next slide. I've condensed all the slides down to like 7, 8 slides, and I've got examples, video examples of all 6 components. So I thought it'd be better like that. So next is cardiovascular endurance. This will be improved. So cardiovascular endurance, the ability of the lungs to provide. Wait, what is it? It's the ability to. The ability of the heart, lungs, there you go. The ability of the heart, lungs, and blood vessels to deliver oxygen to the body. So someone who would need this, as an example, is Mo Farah, because of his long distance running. And this will only be improved if, like, for weight training, you would have to do higher amounts of working to increase your ability. A good example of this is probably, what's a good example? Rowing. I think rowing might be a good example because you're working your muscles also, but them muscles are being worked more, so they're going to need more oxygen to prevent the build-up of lactic acid, and your heart's going to be working more as well, so they'll be used to that, and then your ability will just rise with that. Body composition, this like obviously, so if I was put on let's say if I was a nutritionist as well, I wanted to increase my client's muscle mass but decrease their fat percentage. So they would be eating like more protein filled foods, more carbs, not too much carbs, but just to balance it out on the specifics of training. Stay away from fatty foods as much as possible. But body composition is, like I said earlier, it's the percentage of fats, water, and muscle in the body, and that can be changed relatively easy. Agility. So what I got for agility is, because obviously it's the ability for someone to be able to move quickly, like move side to side, change direction of the body. This could also link to muscular strength because it's about the ability of explosiveness, so being able to move quickly. But you could probably improve this by agility. If you like, so for an NFL player, for example, or a rugby player, like sidestepping and stuff. So if you just were practicing, if you put like one of them ladders on the floor, like the plastic ladders that people use in football, and you quickly step over them or you sidestep it. So that's just training your body to be able to react quicker. What's the muscle fiber? That probably involved 2B because you're moving quickly and quite explosive as well. So yeah, let me just go onto this quickly. So I've got examples of cardiovascular endurance, which is someone on a treadmill. Examples of agility, like I just said to you, I really struggle explaining that one. Examples of muscular strength, which is a 1 rep max deadlift. Flexibility, which is a gymnast, a female gymnast. Examples of muscular endurance, I've just put burpees. I was struggling with that one, so I've just put burpees. But I'm not going to show them now because obviously you'll be able to look for it yourself, and this video is going to be uploaded to YouTube anyway. But yeah, I hope this was up to standard. I did actually try my best. It was quite hard, but I enjoyed it anyway. So yeah, thank you for listening.